During its enforced one-year absence, TTE in Germany, headed by Uwe Anderson, concentrated on creating a new car to meet the new rules for world rally cars. Unsurprisingly, the car of choice was the Corolla, the company's big seller worldwide, and an obvious choice under the World Rally Car regulations, which were designed specifically to permit and encourage this kind of global marketing strategy for manufacturers like Toyota.
It's quite obvious because the Corolla is a world car. It's sold everywhere throughout the world, and if we by using that we will get a better effect of the activity. I mean, it will be effective in more countries.
More than just being a car marketed worldwide and therefore a perfect choice for the new rules, the Corolla is the first all-new car to be entered in the World Championship under any set of regulations for quite some time. It's also the first purpose-built rally car Toyota has ever designed, after 25 years in World Championship rallying, and that gives you an idea of how radical the 1997 rule change really was. It's the first time the Corolla has been the spearhead of the championship effort, although Hannu Mikkola won the 1,000 Lakes in a Corolla more than 20 years ago. And it was on the 1,000 Lakes that the new car was scheduled to make its debut appearance. Freddy Loix and Didier Auriol had a lot of work to do first, and the Corolla was subjected to an intensive testing schedule in France, Spain and Greece, in a wide variety of conditions, and on tarmac and then on asphalt surfaces. The Corolla's a first in many respects, not least of all because it is the first transverse-engined car built to meet the new rules, which allow the unit, taken directly from the Celica GT4, to be canted backwards at an angle of 25 degrees. It has new inlets and manifolds, a sequential gearbox built by X-Track to TTE specifications, and a new electrical system which uses a smaller and lighter battery, possible thanks to a management system which shuts down anything that isn't vital to the current cause. Toyota quotes its power output as a politically correct 299 horsepower, which is what the rule makers intended, and also what everybody else claims for their engines as well.
You always can drive nearly with the two hands on the steering wheel, and it's in the long corners you can change the gear in the corner. The biggest difference between this car and the Celica car is that this car is much more handlinger, and the sit position in the car is much better than the Celica.
It was a big question mark. Will we be better than with the Celica? So we did a comparison test, and it was very promising. We were 0.7 seconds per kilometer quicker on tarmac and nearly 1 second quicker on gravel.
Drivability is a key feature of the new car, which has a more upright driving position, which all the drivers seem to like, and they also seem to like that joystick gear shift. The system halves the time taken for a full shift and does all the up changes under power like Ford's new system, thanks to an electronic management system which automatically cuts back engine revs for less than the 600ths of a second needed for an upshift.
For the first time, the car feels very easy to drive immediately. So it must be a good opportunity for the future because we have still a lot of work to do, but immediately easy. That it's a good point when you start like that.
The whole team is convinced it's a big improvement.
Even with a car that was just in like I said, in the first tests, we were 0.7 seconds per kilometer quicker on tarmac and nearly 1 second quicker on gravel. So that was very promising.
Work on the design and development work for the new car began in secrecy in January 1996, with a team of 16 engineers involved from the outset. The TTE headquarters in Cologne is possibly the most impressive of all the specialist companies involved in this aspect of the championship. The basis of the team originated in a 1972 deal whereby Monte Carlo Rally winner Uwe Andersson drove a Celica on the RAC Rally. TTE followed within a couple of years, and by 1980 the base in Cologne was established and seems to have been growing ever since in size, complexity and sophistication. If there is a single cutting edge to World Championship rallying, this is almost certainly it. The Corolla was developed here to incorporate the new gearbox and a four-wheel drive transmission, which can incorporate virtually any kind of differential, although its original layout was derived from the Celica to include a fixed centre diff, a clutch-controlled rear diff and an electronically controlled front diff. The gearbox software allows mid-corner shifts with ease, and that's vital to making the most of power availability by encouraging drivers to shift where they wouldn't have bothered on a standard H-pattern box. Aerodynamics have also played a role in the development of the new car, although that's not as vital a factor as it is for circuit-based single-seaters. The value of good aerodynamic packaging has been more than demonstrated by 2-litre touring cars, however, and the rules allow the much-in-demand low front bumper and air dam and a small aerodynamic aid at the rear. The prototype was twice given wind tunnel tests in order to check the aerodynamic balance, and it was balance rather than the pure downforce so beloved of Formula One designers that the team was looking for. Eventual weight distribution is only slightly nose heavy, 55-45, and downforce is biased slightly more towards the front. But crucially, it remains consistent at high and low speeds, and it allows a sufficient cooling airflow through the engine bay. Larger air intakes are also permitted within the new rules, as are the wider wheel arches, although the car has to retain the appearance of the production model. Packaging has been another important area of consideration for the new Corolla, and the new rules have allowed the engineers to address it directly. The key factor here is access. This is a car which will have to be serviced in the cold, dark mud and rain of a freezing November night in Hampsterley Forest, so it has to be easy. Even though servicing on rallies is now rigorously controlled, major components of the car will have to be changed under frontline conditions, and the engineers believed they'd got this right too, and claimed that the Corolla would be as easy to work on in this respect as its bigger predecessor had been. After the design work for the car was completed, the official rollout was in January of 1997, and then in February the testing program began in earnest. Those first tests were in France, and then the car moved to southern Spain and then on to Greece, finally to Finland. This was the first phase of a development program designed to examine every aspect of the car's design, which meant simulating rally conditions to make sure that components could be changed under fire and that everything did work as expected. The transmission was an area of special interest, and of course it's something that gets far more abuse than in any other form of motorsport. That's not just because of the rough terrain and the consequent shocks, which only get partially soaked up by the driveline, but is even more fundamental to rallying, where drivers turn the steering wheel more than race drivers, where the wheels are actually in the air for large percentages of the time, and where drivers, as we've said before, often don't change gear as often as they could do. This is an intensive programme of development work, but as so many have found out so often in the past, the hardest testing programme yet devised still cannot emulate the abuse applied by a driver desperate to win a stage, a rally or a championship. So perhaps it's inevitable that Ford and Subaru are further along the development road than Toyota. But all new cars have teething problems. Subaru and Ford have both found that developing a new car in competition can have its drawbacks. The workload is doubled, and that can affect the results of the competition and, of course, the development program as well. That's something that Toyota are well aware of and have planned for. And testing is now heading in two separate directions. One will follow through the long-term development projects, and another will act like a conventional test team, preparing and tuning cars for individual rallies.
We have worked a lot on the shock, we have worked on the adjust of the car, and of course it's get better and better and easier and easier.
The other aspect of the Toyota equation will be drivers. Belgian Freddy, marked out by Toyota for future stardom, is one of the drivers who'll be campaigning the new car along with Didier Auriol and one other.